Welcome to another race preview here on the Backmarkers F1 Show channel. Glad you could join me again. Chris here to bring you the 2020 Portuguese Grand Prix preview. This is the first time in F1 history that Formula One racing will go to the Algarve Circuit for an official Grand Prix weekend, and the first time since 1996 that Formula One has returned to Portugal. Very exciting for the Portuguese fans, but also for F1 fans as well, because you're going to see in this preview just how great this circuit is. Now, the Algarve Circuit will be the 73rd Grand Prix circuit to hold an official F1 race. So very exciting that we get all these brand new F1 tracks on this calendar. So in today's preview, I'm basically just going to give you some brief basic circuit info. Actually, if you want to know more about the track in detail, more of the technical bits and exactly everything that's going to go on, I recommend you check out my video I did a couple of months back, which is a full circuit guide of the Algarve/Portimao circuit, which you can find up here and also in the description below. I'm also going to be taking a look at all the news and rumors heading into the week. We got some interesting updates on potential driver market news as well. I'm going to take a look at the hot lap, a qualifying lap of the circuit that I did on Project Cars 2 that I'll kind of talk you through and point out the areas for action that you can expect this weekend at the race. And then we'll also look at all the tire info, weather forecast, and at the end I'm just going to make some predictions and expectations for the coming race this weekend in Portugal. Now, before we get into the info on the preview, I just wanted to give a quick shout out and a big thank you to all the new Portuguese F1 fans that have tuned in to the Algarve Circuit Guide video in the last couple weeks and have also enjoyed other videos here on the Backmarkers F1 Show channel. I really appreciate all the positive comments and all the likes that you've given to the video. I've been enjoying reading all of your experiences that you've personally had at the Algarve Circuit, and it just really makes me happy and excited to see all of the build-up and excitement that's coming towards this race. It's great that Portuguese F1 fans finally get to have Formula One back in their country. So congratulations to you guys. I really hope you enjoy the race. Personally, as an F1 fan here in Canada, I've really enjoyed this track myself, and it's readily becoming one of my favorite circuits in the entire world to play on racing video games. So very much looking forward to this race. But with all that said, let's get right into the Grand Prix preview for the Portugal Grand Prix. So as I mentioned before, guys, I did a really detailed breakdown of all the circuit info and characteristics in my Algarve Circuit Guide preview, so I won't get too in-depth in this one. If you want, you can check that video out before or after this one if you want to learn more about the track in those terms. So I'm just going to kind of give a simple breakdown of the track, how many turns and kilometers and things like that. So as you can see above me and beside me, we've got the track map here. Now, I am happy to report and confirm that it seems like they will be keeping the original layout that I raced on in Project Cars 2 when I did the initial circuit guide, and also as you'll see in the qualifying lap. I know there were some rumors that they might change the turn 1, 2, and 3 sort of corner combination to make it a little bit slower, but it seems as though according to the F1.com website, they have maintained this layout that you're seeing right here, which is good news because you'll see that turn 1, 2, and 3 combination, very fast, very exciting. So track length, 4.6 kilometer circuit. Race will be run over 66 laps, so a little bit longer of a race. When we look at the corners, it is a clockwise circuit, so we have 15 turns, 9 to the right, 6 to the left. So far at the moment, only one DRS zone has been confirmed, which is, as you can see on the main straight here, the detection zone for the DRS is going to be after turn 14, right before the final corner. I don't think that they'll be adding any more DRS zones, but this is a long main start-finish straight, so DRS should be pretty powerful around the circuit for overtaking. Now, anytime we have a new circuit on the calendar, I like to compare it to other tracks that we already know. Maybe you've raced them in racing video games or just watched them as a fan on TV, so it's a little bit easier to compare of what you can expect at this race. For me personally, the Algarve Circuit reminds me a lot of the Circuit of the Americas in the United States and Texas. It's similar in the fact that there's a lot of undulation and elevation changes. Turn 9 in particular, it is a blind apex corner. There are a lot of blind apex corners here on the Algarve Circuit. And also the final sector at the Circuit of the Americas is a little bit similar to the final sector here at the Algarve Circuit in terms of the long, flat-out, swooping right-hand corners that you're going to see in the qualifying lap. So some similarities there. And also I think that turn 1 here at the Algarve Circuit, similar to me at turn 1 at Suzuka. The way you kind of throw the car into the first corner and then immediately you have the second apex of the second corner come right away. It's very similar, in my opinion, to turn 1, 2, and 3 here at the Algarve Circuit. So just a couple of similar comparisons there to other tracks on the F1 calendar. So when we look at Pirelli's tire information guide for this weekend, they have the rankings from 1 to 5 in terms of traction and asphalt abrasion. So for example, they rate traction as a 4, lateral load as a 3. Of course, there's a lot of high load corners in the circuit, So tires are going to be put under some pretty good stress around here. Downforce is listed as a 4 by Pirelli, so pretty much almost the maximum downforce level that they can have on here. I don't expect that they're going to run maximum levels of downforce here because you don't want to lose out too much on that main straight. So I think that they'll be sort of in the mix of a medium to high downforce setup for the Algarve Circuit, but you do want to have a car that has a good turn in on the front end, but also has a stable rear end as well. Not a lot of slow speed corners around here though, so I don't think that there's going to be that punishing on the rear tires. But the other tires as well on the fronts will take a lot of stress going through the high load corners, as you'll see in Sector 2. Now, Pirelli doesn't have any information in terms of asphalt abrasion or asphalt grip. So again, the teams are just kind of going to be flying by the seat of their pants come free practice to find out where the grip is. And I'm sure as the sessions go on and the track gets more rubbered in, I think that we'll see lap times improve, of course, throughout the weekend, and drivers get a little bit more comfortable with grip around the circuit. Also interesting to note that in free practice 2, if you're watching, for the first half hour of that practice session, the drivers will be testing the 2021 13-inch prototype Pirelli tire, according to Mario Isola. So they're going to be running that for the first time this season just to kind of get a look in for next season's cars. Of course, the tires have remained the same, but they have trimmed the cars 10% down in terms of downforce just to make that a little bit easier on Pirelli. So something to keep an eye out for the first half hour of free practice 2. So the first area of action that I've highlighted is right at the beginning of the lap, which is the turn 3 Lagos curve. It comes right after the high entry speed corners of turn 1 and 2. Now, when I did the IndyCar race around here on Project Cars 2, which in case if you haven't seen that video, it's available above me in the annotations and also linked down in the description below, I found that it's possible to overtake on the outside and the inside of this corner as well as you go uphill to the run on turn 4. Now, turn 4 is a blind apex, which you're going to see here. So it's very difficult to see if there's any cars maybe that have spun in front of you, but it is available or possible to overtake on the outside and the inside as well. I did it both ways in the race that you'll see in that video. So areas for overtaking there. I also found that that whole section of the beginning of the lap, turn 1, 2, and then 3, it's very tight to fit 20 cars through there. So I think the drivers will have to be careful not to nick a front wing. And I think that we'll see a lot of opening lap contact there because it's very tight. There is areas for runoff there. There isn't too much gravel in that area. But at any rate, I think that there'll be a lot of areas for overtaking there. So next area for action, you don't have to go too far. It's actually the next corner, turn 5, which is the biggest braking zone on this circuit and the second longest straight. So a good area for overtaking here. The tight turn 5 hairpin, very easy to run wide, very easy as well to outbrake yourself too. On the inside of turn 5, you'll see that there's a big yellow sausage curb. So if you have to maybe pull off an evasive action to try and get by another driver or try to avoid contact, you're going to be running over those big Verstopper or sausage curbs, which could damage the front suspension and could also maybe nick your front wing as well. So another thing to watch out for as well. But I think that being one of the bigger braking zones on this circuit as well, I think a good area for overtaking. So that whole Sector 1, I think we'll see plenty of opportunities for drivers to get past their rivals. And just one final area for action that I pointed out, most likely not for overtaking. I think it is possible to overtake here, but I think that this corner will be quite spectacular in qualifying trim. It is turn 8, which is the Samsung curve. Super high speed as you enter in from turn 7, most likely taken flat out in a Formula 1 car. It's nearly flat out in the Indy car when I drove it. And it's a blind apex as well as you come into turn 8. So one of the big aspects of this track is a lot of these blind apex corners and high entry speeds as well. So I'm very looking forward to looking at the Samsung curve in terms of how the Formula 1 cars can take it. So just another area to look out for. But as I mentioned, when we look at this track map here, I think a lot of areas in this track which we can see drivers pass. Even the final sector here as we look at turn 14 and turn 15. Very possible to make an overtake move on the outside of turn 15 as well. And don't forget that you don't want to compromise your exit out of turn 14. It is a very long run down to turn 1. So you want to maximize your exit so you can gain as much speed as you can down the straight and possibly pull off a good overtaking move. And one final update before we move on to the F1 news and rumors section is, of course, the weather forecast. And very interesting, as I am recording this today, it is pretty rainy and dreary in Portimao, Portugal, which is a little bit uncharacteristic, but hopefully that will change for the weekend. As I currently look at the forecast for Portimao, Portugal, 21 degrees on Friday. They are expecting 40% chance of rain, so that could maybe impact some of the running on free practice. Saturday for qualifying, currently looking sunny and clear for 21 degrees. And then the big one here is the race. On Sunday, we are looking at 21 degrees Celsius here and more chance of a shower as well. So They said the same thing about the Nürburgring, that they were going to get some rain on Sunday. It eventually came on Friday and washed everything out. It usually always happens that the Sunday ends up clear anyway. So I'm good with either. I hope that qualifying will stay dry because I do want to see these cars absolutely on the limit here. But if we get a wet race on Sunday in Portimao for the Portuguese Grand Prix, I think it'll be absolutely crazy and we could be in for a classic. So either way, I think we're in store for a good race, but a little bit of rain never hurts. All right, time for the F1 news and rumors section of this Portugal Grand Prix preview. A little bit shorter this week, but they are some important updates in terms of the driver market, which is I will start out with. And this one relates in particular to Haas, as Danish media are reporting that Kevin Magnussen is 99.9% out at the end of the season at Haas F1 team. Now, I just want everybody to know this is still a rumor, so nothing is confirmed yet. You never know, obviously, with all these rumors swirling around what is true and what is not. But a reputable Danish media source has reported that Magnussen has lost his seat at Haas for next season, and it's only a matter of time until Haas confirm that both he and Romain Grosjean will leave at the end of the season. So according to this journalist, Jonas Huddle, the decision could be announced before this weekend's Grand Prix at Portimao. RT.DK reporter and renowned photographer Peter Nygaard has confirmed the story as well. So it seems almost likely that this will be confirmed. Whether it's going to happen this weekend or not, we'll see. Now, it goes down further in this article to suggest who could replace Magnussen, or both him and Grosjean. So it looks like it could be Mazepin sliding in for Haas in 2021. Of course, that big financial help that he brings along really helps the American team. Now, who could slot alongside him? There's a handful of drivers available, but it could possibly be one of the younger ones, Mick Schumacher, or Callum Ilott, who was supposed to drive for them in FP1 at the Nürburgring. So we'll stay up to date on it, but there's going to be a lot of these silly season developments in the days and weeks to come. Now, another piece of news concerning the world champions Mercedes, and maybe possibly good news for all those hoping out there to have some closer racing in the coming weeks, is that Mercedes have stopped development on the 2020 W11. Now, this car has been so dominant this season and quite arguably one of the most dominant Formula One cars in the history of our sport. Now, this really doesn't come as a surprise if they have such a healthy lead in the constructor standings over Red Bull. They really won't have any chance to beat them there. And then in the Drivers' Championship, of course, it's only really between the two Mercedes drivers. So it makes sense for them to, basically, they've already wrapped up both championships. It's now just making sure that they bag enough points to clinch them within a couple races' time. But on the other hand, it is good news for Red Bull. We usually see this in the last couple seasons, that after the traditional summer break, we see teams like Red Bull and even Ferrari start to catch up a little bit because Mercedes puts the focus to next year. So good news for this year, but maybe not good news for next year, as who knows what kind of tricks Mercedes has up their sleeves. And in relation to that Mercedes article, there was one I was just reading today about how Red Bull is starting to close the gap to Mercedes. And they were saying that at the Nürburgring, the upgrades that they did bring really did help Max Verstappen be a little bit more comfortable in the car. At the Nürburgring, Verstappen felt that a breakthrough had been made in joining up the two ends of the car, front and rear. He took some encouragement from the fact that his limiting factor in Nürburgring qualifying was understeer, suggesting that the latest developments had been effective in taming the rear, and that without the cancellation of the Friday practice sessions there, the understeer could have been tuned out to give him the balance he has been seeking all season. So it has been a struggle for Red Bull in that area all season long, and we did see that in the early runs in Q1 and Q2, Verstappen had the edge over Mercedes, and then they kind of just blitzed them in the Q3 session. So I do expect them to be fairly competitive here around at the Portugal Grand Prix, hopefully closer than they were at the Nürburgring in terms of the race. I still think, however, though, Mercedes are quite a ways in front. But as I said, we usually see that Red Bull start to be a little bit stronger pretty much when it doesn't even count anymore, which is a little bit of a shame. But anyways, we could see that races in the next couple of weeks are going to get a little bit closer because of this. And my last piece of news heading into the Portugal Grand Prix is relating Ferrari. Now, Ferrari have had a little bit better of a run of form as of late, going back into Russia and the German Grand Prix as well. They did bring some updates to both of those races, and it did help. We saw Charles Leclerc qualify P4 at the Eiffel Grand Prix and had a pretty decent race, I mean, considering the loss of pace, but I still think he did a mega job for them. And they are going to be bringing some couple of upgrades here to the Portimao circuit. They haven't specified yet what exactly they are bringing. I knew they were working on the rear of the car in terms of bringing a new floor, so pay attention to that in free practice 1s and 2 to see how those upgrades work. But it seems like Ferrari are sort of past the worst of it. It seems like slowly but surely they're starting to climb out of the hole that they dug for themselves, and they might be able to finish the season strong, maybe even snack a podium here and there. But some updates that are going to be bringing for Ferrari for this weekend. Now, before I wrap up this preview and just give you some of my predictions and thoughts on the race, let's actually take a look at a hot lap, a flying lap of the Portimao Algarve Circuit in Portugal. Now, I did this one as part of the video, as I mentioned before, for the IndyCar race around the circuit. I'm not going to commentate over it. I'm just going to let the engine noise do the commentating itself and just give you guys a great picture as to what this circuit is like. I very much enjoyed doing it. So let's take a look at a flying lap of the Algarve Circuit. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that lap as much as I did driving it. A lot of fun driving that on Project Cars 2. What did surprise me, though, actually, when I was doing that whole video was the fact that a lot of the corners I was able to take full throttle in an IndyCar. So I can just imagine that in an F1 car, it'll be very easy flat. So I'm really going to be looking forward to qualifying this Saturday around this circuit. Okay, so before I just wrap up the preview, I just wanted to give my predictions and quick thoughts on this race weekend. And it's a little bit harder to do, actually, just because there's a lot of unknowns. We've never raced at this circuit before. We don't have anything to compare it to because we've never been here before. So I really love the fact that we're adding these new tracks onto this calendar just because it really puts a lot of excitement into the race weekend. We know that Mercedes is dominant. We know that they're going to be at the front of the pack, but we're not sure exactly how their car is going to react to this circuit. We might see a surprise in where Red Bull might steal pole position or they might have better race pace. It's not going to be too hot, so I don't think Mercedes will have to worry about overheating issues or anything like that. But again, the big question is, how will the tires last? Will it be a one-stop strategy? Will it be a two-stop strategy? It is a little bit longer of a race at 66 laps. So I think that there's going to be a lot of unknowns, and these teams will be kind of swimming in the deep end when it comes to the race on Sunday in terms of which tire is going to work the best. For me, I still think that Mercedes definitely are the team to beat. I think that Lewis Hamilton is going to break the record this weekend and get his 92nd race victory, but I am hoping that he'll have to earn that race victory hard with the likes of Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas pushing him all the way until the end of the race. But I think that overall we should be in store for a really good race. If we get some rain on Sunday, it might even be an instant classic. But those are my predictions as well. I think Red Bull are going to be strong around this track. It should suit their car. It seems like the upgrades they brought at the Nürburgring have helped them. So a couple of extra hours of running around this track will help them in terms of the data gathering and correlation between that and the wind tunnel. So it should be good there. Another area to look out for is also the battle in the midfield. It's really heating up, guys. Renault's only 6 points back of McLaren for third in the Constructors' Championship. Racing Point is right there as well. So those three teams are going to be going head-to-head. Daniel Ricciardo, he's full of momentum heading into this race after scoring his first podium. Sergio Perez is ready as well. I hope we don't have to see Nico Hülkenberg in a last-minute replacement at this track, even though I love Hülkenberg and I want to see him on the grid. But hopefully Lance Stroll is feeling better and will be back in the car this weekend. So I'm really, really looking forward to this race, guys. I know I've said it quite a few times in this video, but I genuinely am really hyped up and excited for this race. I said it, I think, in one of the replies to the comments that I really hope this track stays on the calendar. Even though we haven't even seen any running yet, I just got a good feeling that it's going to be one that everybody is going to like, whether you're a Portuguese F1 fan or just any other F1 fan watching around the world. So With that being said, I really hope everybody out there enjoys this weekend. If you want to get more into the Portuguese Grand Prix and the Algarve Circuit in particular, wait till the end screen and check the description in the video below. I will link all the videos that we've done so far on the Portugal Grand Prix and this track in particular. Thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for all the support. Tune into our channel in the next couple of days and our social media channels, as we're going to be announcing an exciting giveaway that will be launching at the end of this week. So pay attention to that. Follow all of our social channels at TBMF1 Show, and if you need to contact us, you can find all the information in the description below. Okay guys, thanks for joining me today. Have yourselves a great week, and I hope you enjoy the race. Bye for now.